pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioners. That brings us establishment quorum. We have a full slate, so we have a quorum. Nikki, approval agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve as presented?
So move.
Second.
Okay.
Going to use the machine to vote?
Yeah, I've already pushed it.
All right. All right, that was unanimous. That brings us approval of minutes. It's the January 27th, 2025 regular meeting minutes. Does anyone have any corrections or changes? If not, do I have a motion to approve as presented?
Make a motion. Second.
Yeah, not giving us to vote. There you go. All right. Nikki, public comment. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
We actually just had Donald Applegate signed up. He has no other items to speak about other than he is on the agenda for his SUP application this evening,
So
so we don't have anyone else signed up.
don't have it in just the one or none?
None.
No, okay. All right, I'll move forward on to old business, which we don't have any at this time, and that brings us to new business, the introduction of the Case 24 SUP 353 Applegate.
Yes, sir. The information this evening regarding this application is in regards to tax map 138, parcel 39. It contains just about 2 acres, and it is located at 17534 East James Anderson Highway, Dillwyn, in the Curtisville District. It's currently zoned A1. Our owner applicant is Donald Applegate of that same address. And his request before you this evening is to obtain a special use permit to operate a commercial garage and auto repair shop. The applicant is asking the Planning Commission to hold a public hearing for this request. Now, Mr. Applegate is in the audience. He's happy to address any questions or concerns that you may have regarding his application. And if you were to see fit, to be at the pleasure of you to hold a public hearing, your next monthly meeting that is scheduled is March 24th at 6 p.m.
Okay, and you say Mr. Applegate is here?
He is, yes, sir.
If you would come forward, sir, and state your full name, address, just give us a quick summary of your application, sir.
Hi, I'm Don Applegate. I've been a master technician since 1990. Strong Christian values and hold them in my business. I've actually gone through a couple employers like recently for that, because walk in and they're taking advantage of people. So what I'm looking to do is open pretty much an inspection center and, you know, run an honest auto repair business.
Okay.
Fighting that my entire career. But a lot of them are not.
Okay, very good. I'll turn it over to the commission for questions. Pete, go ahead, sir.
Mr. Applegate,
Yes.
as I drive down 15, turn right on 60, there's a structure, it's a trailer. It's the first one I run into. If I go down to where the brick home is, it's a different address than what's on your application. So where exactly is your garage?
Which way are you turning on?
Okay,
60?
you turn it right on 60, right? I mean, after you go 15, you turn right. If I'm going toward Dillon, I'd have to turn right on 60, correct?
Yes,
And you're the second house off the corner?
correct.
And is that where you plan to have your,
Yes, my garage is in the backyard.
and the address on that is 17354?
534.
Oh, sorry, 534?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That there is a little, one of those posts with the number on
Right.
it next to my mailbox too.
Yeah, I looked for it and I couldn't see the address. The only thing I thought, it might have been where the trailer is. When the
No, it's not the trailer.
Okay.
I know
Is
exactly.
that property yours too?
It is not.
Okay, so it's where the house is.
Yes, the brick
And,
house.
and you say you've got room to park 15 vehicles back there?
Yes, if you can't see it from the street, if you go, because my driveway goes uphill. If you
Right.
go up the hill and go in the back, there's a garage and there's property next to it that would easily house that many
Are
cars.
there any vehicles there now?
No. My Suburban might be parked there.
All right, thank you.
Yes, go ahead, Steve.
Do you plan on working on large trucks or large vehicles that,
No, nothing larger than like an F-350, that's it.
okay, I was thinking tractor trailers, maybe something larger.
I did that a long time ago,
Yeah.
and my back did not like picking up like really big brake drums, so, no.
Thank you.
Mr. Abbott, what hours of operation you plan to have?
Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. I actually have to comply with that to get an inspection, be an inspection facility.
Okay. And any other questions from the commissioners?
One other quick one, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
How do you plan to dispose of your oil and other waste? I mean, I read something about that. Do you have that service already lined up, or?
It's easily lined up. I've been collecting like the plastic storage barrels and stuff in the meantime, like to keep it safe, because I'm planning on like growing food on my property too, so I certainly don't want it contaminated.
You working on vehicles right now?
Out of that garage, just my own.
Okay. Okay, but, so in order to dispose of this, there's obviously not gonna be a reservoir. You're gonna store it in these barrels?
Yes, they're plastic. They're
And you
industrial.
take it somewhere?
I'm gonna have somebody come pump it out.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions for the applicant at this time? Mr. Abbott, you go ahead and sit down then, sir.
Thank you.
We'll turn it over to the commission. What's the pleasure of the commission on this application?
I make a motion, we send this forward to a public hearing.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to move this forward to public hearing. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll vote then. That's unanimous, yes, sir. Mr. Applicant, you move forward to next month. All right. Nikki, that brings us to case 24, SUP 354, Mr. Waters.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. That next case, our applicant is David Waters of 2035 Woodland Church Road, Buckingham. The request before you is to obtain a special use permit for the purpose of constructing and operating a multi-use event center. Events to include but not limited to vendors market, to include local artisans, farms, food vendors, and seasonal festivals, arts and cultural events, life celebrations, community events. The applicant is asking the Planning Commission to schedule a public hearing for this request. And the property on which this request is being made, there are two parcels, the first being tax map 46, parcel 19, at 2.192 acres, and that is located at 76 and 80 The Way, Buckingham, Virginia. And then the additional tax map is 46, parcel 21, at 4.85 acres, and the address associated with that parcel is 71 The Way, Buckingham. These are both in James River Magisterial District. Once again, the next regularly scheduled meeting, should it be your pleasure to hold a public hearing, would be March 24th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Mr. Waters is in the audience this evening and happy to discuss his application with you.
Okay, thank you, Nikki. Mr. Waters, yes, sir, if you come forward and. Yes, ma'am.
She's the homeowner for both parcels.
Linda Evangelista is the
Right.
property owner.
If you would, just give us a quick overview.
So the quick overview is, the purpose is to have vendors markets as the primary type of event. I also work as the administrator for a small community nonprofit, the Village Sangha Association. It's been in operation since 2007 in the Yogaville community, associated with the Yogaville ashram. And there's no real event spaces outside of the ashram's grounds, and the ashram's grounds are its own particular events and not kind of general social events. So the idea is to develop an event space for community events, for everything from birthday parties to like life celebrations, but the large events to be a type of vendors market to happen once a month on the property. We're off of State Road 604, off of a private lane off of State Road 604. So the idea would be to host events of up to 300 people. We've hosted events in the past, like non-vending type events, which usually gather 50 to 100 people, but we just wanted to put in the application, accommodating the growth of this type of event. So, we don't want to limit ourselves to, a certain smaller number, but we also don't expect there to be huge crowds. And yeah, basically it would be mostly like outdoor type markets, temporary stalls that would be set up for local artisans and local farms to set up and vend their products. And there's two parcels adjoining off of the way, which is directly off of Woodland Church Road, State Road 604.
Both have frontage.
Yes, and both have frontage on Woodland Church Road, but they have their access from the way. And yeah, the idea would be to basically, build out. I mean, we're in village center zoning. This is really explicitly what's spelled out for village center zoning. From my reading, I've seen the draft plan for the 2025 to 2030 comprehensive plan for the county. More vibrant community activity in denser populated areas, which Yogaville, though the ashram has been there since 1979, has not really successfully developed any other type of community event space of this sort. So this would kind of be a first, and it would enable other types of events other than what's being, the types of events that are being put on by the ashram itself. That's kind of the big
Okay,
picture of it.
thank you. All right, Commissioners, I'll turn it over to the commission for questions. Yes, Dan?
I was wondering about your driveway. You talking about that many people coming in. Is the driveway, you've talked to VDOT at all about?
So unfortunately, we haven't been able to get Brian Locker, VDOT, out with the snow and ice of the past couple of weeks. He's supposed to be coming out to make a determination this week. That number, the high-end number, is per day. It's not, I don't
Flow through.
anticipate that at any one time. And it's a small, like the lane has maybe 6 houses on the lane. And they're all on the adjoining property owners list that you all have before you. And we'll receive notification and can show up next month. And many of them will probably come and actually express their support. They're friends and neighbors of ours. But yeah, we plan on there's already a fair amount of parking on the property, and there's room to develop, particularly the larger parcel of the two, the one that's close to 5 acres. There's area for the development of additional parking.
Could I clarify develop? Not an industrial level, the community just that with, small events. Like, at the best, we're hoping for is eventually a pavilion, that's, like they do at city. Posts and a pad and a roof, but mostly we put pop-up tents, and we've had the Easter egg hunts or stuff, and so mostly it's one of those boat things.
Yeah.
to have a spot,
So the answer is no, we haven't had a VDOT assessment yet, but I'm hoping that he'll be out this week, and I'm sorry that I don't have that before you for this meeting.
But all your neighbors, they seem to be getting along with you, or
Say that again.
happy? Your neighbors, you talking about all the 5 or 6 houses right there beside you?
Yep.
So they're with you?
They're all friends. They will, they'll have their opportunity at public comment, but in general, from our conversations with them, they've been supportive.
Okay.
Mr. Waters, at existing right now, how much parking spaces do you think you have right at the moment?
But I have 2
About-
areas
yeah, about-
designated that could open up a
About
little
30
more.
vehicles presently,
Okay.
and when I say develop, I mean put down gravel so that people aren't
Right.
parking
I
in mud.
understand.
But there would be front-end parking along the way on the backside of where the brick house is on one of the properties.
Okay.
There's a long stretch where we could have another dozen or 15 if we put gravel down, and then there's a couple of other places where with clearing some small trees, we could even develop.
I read some of that in the narrative. My only question to you is, if you're parallel parking on the road, it's still enough room for an emergency vehicle to get through and back? Because you never know. Hopefully nothing like that ever happens, but you don't want to be blocked and having to find somebody to,
Yes,
that
yeah.
was my only concern.
Yes, absolutely, and I think in coordination with the community organization, we'll be putting together contingency plans for these events. They won't, they're seeking liability insurance for the types of events that they'll be hosting. So a lot of the events will be done in collaboration with the nonprofit organization, that community organization in the community. But yes, there is plenty of egress even with the parking off. It won't be in the roadway.
Right, okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
Would people be entering from the way, or would they be entering from another road?
They'd be entering from so the two properties are actually on either side of the way. So, and have road frontage on Woodland Church Road, 604. So they would be entering from 604 onto the way, and as I said, it's the two properties at the front of the way, and then beyond the two properties that Ms. Evangelist owns, there's three other owners.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, yeah,
Three-
because I own 3 flats.
Three other owners further down the way. But as you enter the way from 604, then you exit the way onto the properties.
So when I took a ride down the way on the left-hand side, there's that horseshoe driveway.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of that land dips off rather significantly, and it's all wooded. So do you plan on having all that timbered? Is that the idea?
No. There's two propositions. One of the propositions for parking is after you, on the left-hand side, that's 71 the way, after you pass the house on the left-hand side, to develop, to clear some small trees along the road for front and in parking. You know, there's about 100 to 150 feet there past the house, down towards where the creek is.
Right.
If you were to go past. And then in the front property, between Woodland Church Road and where the roundabout driveway is, there and somewhat down towards the creek, there's a relatively flatter area, which we would hope to clear some, as needed, to open up area for parking. And there's a further site on the right-hand side on 76 and 80 the way. There's about a half an acre on the Woodland Church side of the parcel, which would be if it's deemed necessary. But I don't think it's something we intend on developing, but where there could potentially be a few trees removed to develop a small parking area.
Yeah, I don't mean to be argumentative, but in looking at it, I mean, I guess maybe I just don't picture it. I cannot even begin to imagine 300 people fitting in there.
I agree with you. The goal for the 300 person limit that we put in there would be visits throughout, like the market would be a day, from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m., 5 p.m. Everything we're talking about is during daytime hours. We don't want to permit for anything after dark. That would be, part of the crowd that we're attracting are people who would either walk or would be carpooling. We're a somewhat walkable community in Yogaville. The events that we've done in the past as like a community association they're not for-profit events, and it's people just, maybe when you have 60 people, you might only have 15 cars. Now, I understand that applies differently to if the public, it's a public venue and the public can come. So 300 people would be what we were looking for throughout the entirety of a day. I think we would be comfortable making a capacity limit smaller than that in terms of, number of people at any given time or even a number of vehicles. But we think that we could probably, with development, reasonable development, have a capacity for 50 or 60 vehicles at any given time.
Mr. Chairman, I understand that, but, when you look at the way the application's written, it sounds to me like there's going to be 300 people at any one time, and that's a concern. So if you were looking for a condition saying that, all during the day, we don't expect any more than 300 people, I mean, how many people at any one time do you expect to have? Because that seems to me to be the thing that should be on your application, unless I'm mistaken here. I don't know.
Oh, it's valid, concern.
Yeah, I think it wasn't entirely clear to me how to phrase the number of people versus like visits per at like a max capacity at any given time or visits throughout the day. So I apologize for the confusion. Yeah, to me, I think, yes, it might be difficult to accommodate 300 people, and I would, I don't know how this process works as I'm a first-time applicant here and anywhere else. So, we'd be happy for some stipulations to be put on, 150 or 200 person maximum, at any given time, and I apologize that the narrative isn't written to reflect that. But, again, being a first-time applicant, there was it was a good faith effort to describe the type of event space we're trying to create and the capacities that we're hopefully able to, entertain. And I'm happy to have feedback and make any amendments if that's a possible,
Well, I understand all that. I guess having looked at the lane and understanding that's where most of your traffic's going to be, I would suggest a condition that would probably be much more limiting with regard to the amount of traffic you're gonna have on that. I mean, that is not a big lane, it's a small dirt lane.
Yep.
And on top of that, it didn't look to me like there were gonna be a lot of area for people to park. So in the worst-case scenario, you kinda have to tell us, you know, with the development that you plan, how many cars you're gonna be able to accommodate, and how many people would be, let's assume there's 2 or 3 people per car. So, I mean, when I drove down the lane, I was looking for an area that would accommodate 300 people, maybe 100 cars or whatever, or 200 cars. I didn't see it, all right? So you're the one that's gonna have to tell us. I don't know, Mr. Chairman, I don't know exactly how to approach this, but I think those conditions ought to be reflective of that sort of thing.
Yes, go ahead, George.
Along those lines, I do have a couple of questions too, because I see the words larger and smaller and regular basis, and I don't know what that means. We asked the other gentleman what were his shop operating hours, so I'm not sure what a regular basis is. How often do you plan to have vendors? Is it every weekend, once a month?
Once a month,
That
ma'am.
kind of reflect that. And then larger, and you said 300, I see down here it says 300 plus. So is that 300 plus 700? I don't know what that means, so I just need more specificity in that. The other thing is, in the paragraph before, you, well, the application cites our draft, what we're presently working on. And I am just, that's one of my, something I'm sensitive to, having been held, a teacher held me responsible for something in her unpublished works. I don't think the cops should give a ticket for something that's going to change January 1st and give that ticket in November. And I really would rather not see you cite a draft of something published, already in print, already approved. This is what we're doing, yes. But draft, it means that we're thinking about it and it hasn't been approved. So I'd rather see that actually removed.
Sure, and I
Replaced with whatever you want, but just
Well, I will-
not a draft.
well, I will say that that language is very reflective of the 2020 to 2025. I know it's not verbatim, but it,
If it's reflective, then you can use the
Certainly.
earlier one.
Certainly.
And not state the draft.
Certainly.
Or what I'm thinking about as your proof that this should be done.
Certainly. Yeah, and as far as, you know, the 300 plus number, I totally understand that as well. And I don't think I mean, we could probably quite fairly say 300. That was just, you know, in being a first time applicant, I think there's a lot to try to navigate and understand what's necessary for you all to see from us in terms, and so it was, you know, without hiring a professional, it was a good faith effort. So we would be happy to put a cap at 300. One of the other things that factors, and again, it's until we have anything on the table, we have spoken with and not heard back anything yet about potential overflow parking on the ashram facilities, which directly across where the way exits Woodland Church, there's a service center, which has parking for, if you were to, you know, it currently has a couple of dozen, you know, defunct vehicles and a number of service vehicles, and has additional overflow parking. So we've initiated a conversation with them about the potential of using that as an overflow spot, parking spot. But I certainly understand the concerns with regards to the numbers and want to be able to, you know, make a reasonable request. I said these are kind of out of inexperience that I'm not making more specific requests, but I would be happy to, you know, I'm not sure how the process works, if, you know, to rewrite the narrative and come back to you with it. But making more, you know, citing a more specific parking plan, as well as making more specific numbers rather than just open-ended numbers, as well as not citing draft works.
Yes, go ahead, Judge.
And a question about the vendors. I heard you mention, and I say shelter, gazebo, not sure, but a building with vendors. As the vendors set up, do you envision we're using card tables to kind of set up for that? So nothing permanent?
No, what she was speaking to is like a development of put a gazebo on the property, just space making, not for the use of vendors, but just the property is a private property being developed for the purpose of like having social spaces, so that the markets themselves would be temporary structures. Everything that would be coming would be pop-up tents and would be card tables and
So you have
such.
space for the 30 vendors, max, or,
Yeah, I think we can come, I think 30 max is plenty. I mean, that's, I think
they're
30
bringing
max.
their own card
And they're bringing their, all
tables,
of their
clear
own
their
things.
stuff and
Yeah.
setting up.
Very similar
Okay.
to a farmer's market, but
At farmer's market,
Yeah.
yes, all right.
Chairman?
Yes, go ahead, Pete.
I should tell you that when I saw the application, I thought, I like farmers markets. I really think that what you're doing is really fine, except what I would do, having seen the property, I would make a recommendation that you start much smaller, and then if you need something more, there's no reason why you couldn't come back to the county and say, look, this thing's really growing, and this is how we're gonna accommodate that growth. I mean, when I look at the lane, and I look at the drawing here, and I saw the landscape, I don't see that you're gonna accommodate 50 cars. I really don't see you're gonna accommodate those. 50 cars to me would be a lot on that lane. You might wanna start something less than that, and you might wanna limit yourself to maybe 100 people, maximum. I don't care how many people go through there during a day. If you had 100 people an hour, you'd have 800 people total, but I'm suggesting that you have something in that range. I can't see, given the property and the landscape, it being more than that. Now, that's just my view. The commissioners may have their view too, but that would be something that I'd be willing to consider at least passing that on, because there's not a lot of room on that. For 300 people and 100 vehicles, I just can't see it.
If we do come to some sort of agreement with, an overflow parking lot, would that alter your, opinion on the matter?
You'd have to, in my view.
In writing, we'll say.
Well, you would have to come to us with some sort of a plan. Tell us how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Right now, when I look at the property, I don't even understand how you're going to put 50 vehicles in there.
Yep.
I mean, it's as simple as that. Now, you say you're going to have 30 vendors. They're going to have vehicles too, and most of those people are going to bring trucks and trailers, I would assume, if they're going to bring their goods to sell. So you've got that to contend with. I mean, if you put 30 vehicles on that, it's almost a two-track. It's a very small road. If you put 30 vehicles out there and you parked them off to the side, I mean, that would be a lot for that particular kind of property. And I think if you had 100 people running around, that would still be a lot of people running around on that kind of property. Unless it was totally cleared, you had a big flat area, you had a parking plan, I can't, in my mind, and I might even be a little bit aggressive looking at 35, 40 cars and 100 people. That may be too much, I don't know. But I'm suggesting you ought to at least start smaller, and then if you need something greater, you can always come back. But I don't know what the appropriate number is, because I don't see a parking lot plan here.
Yep.
Is that fair?
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead, Steve.
I don't know, will you be open on Sundays, or will you be having these events on Sunday? How will it impact the Woodland Church? Have you talked to anybody at Woodland Church about this?
We've not spoken to Woodland Church about it yet. We were envisioning, we hadn't fixed a weekend day. We hadn't precluded Sunday as a possibility, and we've not spoken with the Woodland Church about it, but we certainly are willing to do so. And I know that they have a fairly small congregation, because I actually live just adjacent to Woodland Church on 2035. So I know that the Sunday traffic there isn't a large crowd, but I do understand that they are coming in, from there, that,
Sure.
we will be complicating their ordinary light traffic.
That's what I was wondering, if it was going to complicate Woodland Church.
It was on a Sunday, particularly in the morning, I think they gather at 10, if I'm not mistaken, but, so depending on the time of day on Sunday, if it were Sunday morning, I think it might complicate them, and we'd be willing to work around that. And we have envisioned either, mid-morning or or early afternoon as a start time for market, for these vendors' markets there, but hadn't settled on anything. But we'll take them into consideration as we,
Okay.
make these
In
considerations.
other words, it wouldn't affect your business plan if you had open on Sunday to start maybe 1 o'clock, and that would allow the Woodland Church to clear?
No, it
Okay.
wouldn't. And if it felt like the morning was the more appropriate time, we could make it a Saturday market.
As far as the supplemental parking, you referring to across the road?
Yeah, directly across the road.
And how many vehicles do you think could be parked there?
Well, if they were to be interested in cooperating with us and we're able to move a lot of the vehicles that they have parked there presently that are defunct vehicles that they just use for repairs of, vehicle repairs, quite a few. I mean, I would say 50 to 60, if they were able to, again, this is if they're willing to accommodate and move their own vehicles. I mean, that's probably a 3 or 4 acre lot around the service building there, and it's all gravel. It's nearly all graveled. So if they were willing to work with us, it could be upwards of 50 vehicles. I would say.
Okay. I think for the county, it would probably be, if you went that route and was able to acquire, probably something in writing would be needed. That way we can make it part of your application and, everybody understands on the commission, as well as if it were to go to the Board of Supervisors, that you've been able to acquire parking for your events there. Joyce, you'd asked a question, how many events?
I did ask how many events, but as I'm looking at it, my thought is if they could rework your plan, the parking that we're concerned about, and the events and the number of people, and bring it back to us. Is that an option?
Can I just say a word that spoke to, because you asked about, it says smaller and larger events. The main goal would be to have one monthly, market. The other events which I refer to are probably not, I don't even think fall under the guise of this application, but I wanted to just, it's community events like potlucks, things that aren't, commercial events. So I didn't know whether that was right to be included, because it's still a private property in a village center where, presumably by right, you can have 30 or 40 people over for a potluck or a barbecue without the county needing to permit it. So that's I just didn't know what type, what to put in there. So that same space that would be used for those vendors markets on those three other weekends a month might be hosting a community potluck, might be hosting a kid's birthday party, might be hosting smaller community events that aren't advertised to the public, essentially. So I didn't know whether it was appropriate. I included it for the sake of kind of disclosure, but wasn't sure whether it was an appropriate part of the application or not, but I felt better to include it than.
Your events will be the largest traffic flow, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's really what Commissioner Kapinski is talking about, and I think as well as George is really not concerned with your smaller events, just those major ones. You're looking to maybe once a month.
Yes, that's what we're looking for.
12 a year.
Yep.
And because you don't have the parking, Pete, what did you suggest as a total?
Well, I think, quite frankly, without knowing whether or not you have access to this other lot, I mean, from what I've saw, I wouldn't suggest any more than, say, 35 vehicles and no more than 100 people at this point in time. And if you need more, then you might want to come in. I got to tell you, Joyce, you may have a different view on that.
Right.
That would be my view. I don't know.
For your business plan, how's that affect you if we reduce the number from 300 to, say we cut it in half and went to 150? If I understood you correctly, you don't expect to have those people all there at one time. It's because it's all day long.
Correct.
Would that work with your business plan?
It would. Yeah, and I think that as Mr. Kapuscinski suggests, that if we see a success happening and we are wanting to make developments, invest in developments, we could come back, but that would certainly work for us.
Okay, all right, and that limit would be for your larger events. So the other minor ones we're not really concerned with that. How's the commission feel with that limit, 150 people? If we'll make that we'll reduce the 300 to 150.
Actually, want to put it down.
Events
Put it in
of
writing.
150.
Total for the events, the 12 events.
12 events.
12 events, 150 people for those events.
And then anything under, what's the number that's small
Yeah,
amount?
the other things that they're doing won't generate that kind of traffic or that many people, so we're not, if I'm understanding the commission, we're not concerned with those,
Anything under
correct?
100, they can have, they're unlimited?
I don't think I'd have that issue. I
Well,
think-
I'm going, I mean, we can just say 150 for all events then, because they're going, if I understand, Mr. Waters, everything other than the monthly events are going to be less than that anyway, number-wise, but we'll just say 150 for all. And that will that'll give you leeway.
It
How
will,
about that?
that'll work.
Okay.
Are you gonna change that, or we need to change it? I didn't know what you,
I don't know, but I'm happy to if I need to.
we
but-
need to vote on it and change it, or does it just, or you can just change it? I just wanna make sure I ain't.
Sounds that it's an agreement with the applicant, so you've had a discussion here. What I will do is, from the discussion amongst the board and with the applicants, since they are agreeable, we can, if someone would place that into a condition
Okay.
and make the motion on the condition. As far as that, you've had conversation that you agree to it, but in order to formally place it in the conditions, a motion and a second to make a condition as 12 events per year at capped at 150 max attendees.
So, yes, go ahead, Joyce.
So am I hearing it could actually be 150 people 7 days a week, or just 150 on the weekend?
12
times a year.
times,
12 times a
12.
year,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
and,
And
oh,
the-
once a month?
Once a month.
Okay,
12 events,
okay, 12 events, once a month.
right. And then the others,
The vending, is that the vending we're talking about?
Right.
Okay.
yes.
And then the other birthday party things or gatherings, which could also be up to 150, could be any day of the week.
Yeah, I got a problem with that.
I'm just asking if that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, me
I
too.
just
Well, I'm
clarified.
assuming, the other events, would you have them during the week, or would they be on the weekend also?
Generally, anything that would be happening would only be on the weekend, and I think other than, like, private, like, not, it's still a residence, so
Yeah,
other
now-
than like private.
Right, private parties, we're not referring to, we're
Yeah.
talking about outside.
Yeah, no, anything other than private parties or private entertainment, would be only on the weekends.
Okay.
Potentially a Friday evening, I don't know if that, or like, Friday at five,
Yeah,
Friday at
Friday,
5
Saturday,
o'clock,
and
a
Sunday.
potluck after work type of thing.
Is that what you're asking?
I'm
Joe?
just asking, yes, I'm
Yeah.
asking what, because
Yeah,
we've got 150 solid max number, but then as we're talking about the days, does that mean 5 days a week? Because it could be a birthday party on a Wednesday, and during the summer.
Yeah.
People are out, and then there's somebody want a Thursday birthday party and a Friday birthday party, that's, I don't know. So that's why I'm asking for
We're happy to
clarification.
limit,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I-
go
I
ahead,
think-
Pete.
I think the question here is, what are you going to do commercially? In other words, these private parties are private.
Yes.
And so I can't imagine, unless you intend to rent this property out for a birthday party, that would be entirely different. But I'm saying if it's a commercial use, you're talking about once a month for commercial farmer's market.
correct.
And anything else would be under the private use.
Correct.
Non-commercial.
Correct.
So I'm not concerned with what they do on that side of it. But, so I would suggest in your conditions, you're asking for 12 events a year, no greater than one a month, right?
Yep.
Maximum 150 people. Are we going to limit the number of vehicles on that road for the time being?
that's your call,
We need a VDOT, excuse me.
You need a VDOT, yeah.
yes,
We need a VDOT statement, don't we?
right. Well, you,
So that would take care of
Okay.
the VDOT rather than me trying to measure a
All right.
road or,
Is that a dead-end road?
Yes.
Dead end road.
It is.
That's gonna be a problem too, so,
For VDOT's assessment, or,
both ways.
Traffic.
entering
Yes,
and
for-
leaving. So, the VDOT guy will remedy that problem, but we just don't know.
right. Yeah, they don't, at this point, we don't have a report from the highway department, but,
All right, so, Mr. Chairman, I would suggest the conditions would include one event per month, no more than 150 people, and then you're going to have to give us some sort of a parking plan.
Can do.
If that would be okay with the rest of the commissioners. I would suggest that as a motion.
okay. Everybody understand the motion?
All right? You make a mo, oh, go ahead.
can you repeat that?
Yeah,
All right, as a motion, I would suggest we go ahead and move this toward a public hearing, so long as the conditions are changed to one event a month, not more than 150 people, and the application has to be accompanied by a VDOT and parking plan. Is that fair?
okay.
You want to make it a motion while you
Yeah,
talking?
I just
It's on
made
it.
that motion.
It's on in front of you there. I'll second it.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Does all the, yes,
You're going to do this without a complete package, without the VDOT at all?
we're moving it to the public hearing, and at that point, if they haven't gotten the VDOT, we're gonna have to make a call then as whether we want to table it until they get that.
With traffic being such a big part of this, and it being incomplete.
Right.
Right.
I hate to penalize the applicant because there's bad weather and the snow has held up the highway department. But hopefully, Mr. Waters, you said he's supposed to come,
It's on Friday. He said he would be
Right.
out here this week.
so hopefully he'll be able to have that in time for the public hearing.
We're ready to vote?
Yes, ready to vote. All right, we have, that passes 7-4 and one against. We will see you next month.
All right. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, sir. And Nikki, that brings us to SUP 355,
Sir.
Ms. Sprouse.
The next application, our applicant and landowner is Sprouse and Dowd LLC at 16680 West James Anderson Highway, Buckingham. There is one tax map for consideration for this request, and that's 137, parcel 125B, lot 2. It's just over 59 acres. It is in the Maysville district. It's currently zoned A1. The request before you is to obtain a special use permit for the purpose of expansion of business operations, including but not limited to additional housing and Airbnb, dry campsites, and an event center. The events to include but not limited to glamping, dry campsites, nature trails, community meetings, special programs, tours, life celebrations, classes, festivals, farmers markets for up to 500 attendees. The applicant is asking the Planning Commission to schedule a public hearing for this request. A special use permit was approved January 8th, 2007 for horse rider training facilities, dude ranch, and horse shows on this property, and these activities will continue. As mentioned in the request, the expansion includes home sites, Airbnb, dry campsites, and the event center. Our applicant is Sprouse and Dowd, LLC. LaRue Sprouse is with us this evening to address questions and concerns, and should you decide to hold a public hearing for this request, your next meeting is March 24th, 2025 at 6 p.m.
Okay, thank you, Nikki.
Uh-huh.
Ms. Sprouse, if you come on down and give us a quick overview, what you want to do.
So this started as a shorter-term plan. It's kind of an update to our current special use permit to add, the initial idea is to add some housing, single-use, single-family homes to the property. Mainly, we need a little bit of housing for our current staff, and, to potentially, our first idea was to put 2 single-family homes, but I wanted to open this up a bit to where we had potential for growth, kind of similar to the last application. So I am, we asked for the max, and we're definitely here to talk about what we can do to make it work, for everybody. So my vision for this is to potentially put an Airbnb in the back of the property. The single-family homes would be on the map. You can see that there's a couple on the side of the property. The campsites we had approved in the last special use permit, those were to remain there. There are no campsites right now, but just, again, it was put in there originally because we wanted to, support our growth eventually. And then the event center would be in kind of support of these homes that would be added. So if someone ever came to us and said, hey, could we have a wedding here? Or could we have a, birthday party for our for our Airbnb group or something like that. So that's kind of the idea of what, coming to you all.
Any commissioners have questions? for the applicant?
Yes, about your driveway coming in there. Right now, your driveway comes between the police department and the insurance department and all that. And I know you got an old driveway back over at the middle of the field. To me, you ought to open that up and use that to come in and out. Now you're talking about 500 people that might come in there. Definitely need that worked on.
So
And-
that, the person from the VDOT, same person I've been speaking with, same issue. We had snow and so forth. He was supposed to come out last week, couldn't make it. And I also spoke with him on Friday, and he said he's supposed to come out this week and work on that. That is the entrance we use for the horse shows currently. We do open that up, and that's where our parking is. They come straight off of 60 and park we move our horses around, and they park in the pastures there. So we do use that entrance for events. The other entrance is we do riding lessons, we have individuals come in, one at a time the other way, but we never use that other entrance for events. But yes, the VDOT is supposed to come out, and I'm sorry, I haven't gotten that, talk with him or yet, but that's supposed to happen this week.
I was just saying for 500 people that they don't want to come around the other driveway. They
Yes.
don't want to come around this way. And that road needs to be redone.
Yes.
But that's not on the list. I see ain't nobody looked at it from VDOT. And you said they're gonna come this week, probably the same day they come to his.
Yes.
Okay.
Joyce, go ahead.
I had a question. How many people attend your horse show?
We have had, on our books, we've had up to 75 horse and rider pairs. So with the horse and rider pair, you usually have a family that comes with that. So, unfortunately, without counting the actual people that have come, we've had, 200 to 300 people that have come to our horse shows on a big one. And we seem to be comfortable with our accommodations because they all come in and park. They come in the entrance that he's discussing. They park, in our horse pastures, and then our arena is in another area that, they walk their horses to, and kind of people can hang out around the arena or in the parking area.
And the other question is, do they stay in the area? Do they stay overnight? I've been to rodeos,
No.
I've just not been to your horse show.
No, it's a day show.
It's a day
Yes,
show.
ma'am. Yes.
So,
Usually like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. kind of Saturdays.
and I know you have staff for your therapy side.
Yes.
I've seen your presentations at the school board.
Okay.
And so I know you have therapy horses and a therapy side of your, there. So they all live locally, or
Yes,
are
so-
you trying to enlarge the therapy side?
Well, we're pretty happy with our growth on the therapy side, but I would like to provide some housing for our farm managers. We've got,
Okay.
yes, I've got 2 part-time farm managers that live off-site, but it would be really nice, if they were on-site.
And then an Airbnb?
An Airbnb in the back of the property, for people who would want to come and just have a weekend getaway, maybe, bring their horses to the barn and they could go ride around the property or in the arenas.
Yes, go ahead, please.
The road that, the next road up from you is Old Fort Road. Does your property back up to that? Is any of your property backing up to
No,
that?
no.
Okay, so it's all on the other side of that.
Yes, so my grandparents, my uncles and all owned it, it was backed up to Old Fort Road, and they have divided it into 2 tracks. So the track that we're on right now is 80 acres, and the track that my cousin owns is only 80 acres, that they're both mirror each other. The tracks look exactly alike, but it was just divided down the center, and my cousin's property backs up to Old Fort Road.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is I drove down there and I saw a couple of places staked out, so they're not partnering with you in any
No.
regard, are they?
No.
All right, so in any of this, are you anticipating any multifamily housing?
No.
Okay, so everything is single family except the Airbnb where you may.
Yes, and that I anticipate just to be a cabin
Right.
type, not a large facility or anything.
Any other questions? Yes, Calvin, go ahead.
First, I've been to one of the horse shows. Your parking and your entrance are fine for, there's probably 300 people when I was there. But I had a question for Nikki. The 4 houses, would that need to be subdivided, or would a special use permit allow
Special,
that?
and if working off of my memory here, I think at 58.99 acres, the 4 homes would be allowed, but these are potential sites. If our zoning and subdivision ordinance do not allow for 4 homes on one parcel, she wouldn't have those. If she needed to divide them to get the 4 home sites, she would have to do that, but I believe at the 59 acres, she's allowed 4 homes by right, because I believe we discussed this in the pre-application meeting. So. But the expansion part comes because her original SUP application did not include this level of growth for her business. I mean, she's been very successful at Sprouse's Corner Ranch, so now she has seen the wonderful effects of success and what it's brought to the county and what she can potentially do.
Any other questions from the
I
commissioners?
apologize. What you would be approving is the Airbnb portion. The single-family homes would be allowable, that's part of the packet, but the Airbnb would
Would
be
be,
approved with
right.
the SUP request, should that be the final outcome. Because that use would be different than just single-family residence for her own living, personal living.
The Airbnb, how many would you anticipate living in that at any one point in time?
As it's small maybe a 2-bedroom, something 2-bedroom cabin type,
Okay.
yeah,
All right, thank you.
facility.
But you said you were talking about building four homes?
So, 4 would be long-term, like open-ended if we decide to do that. Initially, 2 single-family homes would go kind of behind our hay barn. It's a wooded area. I'd have to clear. I've got, I think 5 or 6 acres behind that hay barn that's kind of hidden from, the rest of the farm. So they just come in the driveway you were talking about, and there is a road that goes, to that part already. We just have to fix it up. The 3rd home would be the Airbnb in the back, kind of back. You go back all the way back in the property. I've got a home back there already with a driveway, so it'd be back further. My home's on one hill, it'd be on the other hill. And the 4th property would be just something that we kind of, because we did the special use permit, updating it at the time, just kind of leaving it open, like if we were to ever do that. And that would be, my idea for that would be, we've got a big open cattle field kind of in between the 2 single-family homes and the Airbnb. And it used to be where great-great-great-grandfather had a house back there. So it's on a big, piece of property that's kind of in between the 2.
Yeah, I was wondering, were you
Yeah.
just talking about adding 4 altogether? Or
Not all
you already
together.
had 2 there,
Yeah.
or were you counting that up
2 would happen first.
Yeah.
Get that finished. Airbnb would be, the next goal.
Okay.
And then the 4th would just be, a future
Okay.
hope.
Oh.
Yes.
Jackie, thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
and maybe this is for Nikki, did the 2007 application have a cap on number? Like, is this 500, is this part of a new request?
This would be a new request, and specifically for this parcel of land. This entire parcel was subdivided after the SUP. Sometime the SUP was gained in 2007, and I can't remember which year.
I think 2009, or 8 or 9, we subdivided it.
These events would be separate from the horse shows, these are weddings?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Her horse, the Sprouse's Corner Ranch as it exists will continue to do
Right.
with those.
So these events, where would parking for these events be? Would they
It would-
share similar to the pastures?
It would be the same areas, the horse shows, but we wouldn't run them simultaneously.
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
so yes, it would be in the same area.
The commission, my same concern is incomplete package with the VDOT, and I understand the weather, but.
Yeah. Well, again, I don't want to penalize the applicant for bad weather and something she can't control. What we can do is to, as we did with addresses at the public here, if we move this forward and make a decision then if we don't have that highway report, so, VDOT report. So, Any other questions for Ms. Rouse? You can go ahead and sit down.
Okay, thank you.
We'll discuss it now. Yeah, well, it's the pleasure of the committee.
We'll make a motion, we go ahead and move this forward to public hearing. I agree with Ms. Shoemaker, I'd like to see that VDOT permit next month, but
Okay, have a motion.
Seconded.
Second, okay. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we will vote. That passes 7-1. Okay. All right. We will see you in a month. Nikki, that brings us to your reports.
Well, there's a building permit report in there for your review. I have a couple of other items, one being the final draft of the comp plan, complete with pictures and those last-minute updates that Tyler Henderson with CRC had indicated that he would do. He did exactly that. That was passed on to the Board of Supervisors the same week of the February 10th Board of Supervisors meeting. I'm bringing this to you because I did ask the Board of Supervisors if they would, like to hold that public hearing. I think the consensus was they'd like to have a last joint work session with the Planning Commission to make sure that the comp plan is exactly where it needs to be, because they're reviewing all of those portions of the comp plan now. The February 18th, last week was not a good week for the Board of Supervisors, and we did not have anything else to discuss, so we didn't hold a work session. But I do understand that March 17th, at 6 p.m. would at this point be a very good date for the Board of Supervisors, and I think that they would like to join us. So March 17th, 6 p.m., our next work session, I will move forward with a formal invitation at their meeting to come and meet with us if they would so graciously accept that invitation. Also, while we're discussing that, any other I included it in the packet because I would like for each of you to look at this and know that, it is in one of its very last stages here. Does it look exactly the way it should to you? Have any constituents reached out to you? Have they advised of any changes or deletions that they would like to make to this as well? I do have a comment from Commissioner Kapuscinski. He has a statement that would be something really good for us to discuss at that March 17th meeting, to put it in the very forward of the comprehensive plan that tells a little bit about the character and integrity of Buckingham County. So I'll let him discuss that next month at the work session, but this would be a time for any other final comments, additions, deletions, as you all review this as well. But it does look like March 17th, we will be having a joint work session with the board.
Okay.
It's 6 o'clock.
At 6 o'clock. And I'd also like to add, last month, you all asked to take a request to the Board of Supervisors regarding the House bill and the Senate bill and any other Senate bill coming forward, basically that stated, please allow the authority of Buckingham County to remain here in regards to our zoning ordinance. So that is being drafted and will be sent to the powers that be in Richmond. That has been taken care of and was accepted and moved forward by the Board of Supervisors as well. So as of right now, those are the only items I have, but I did want to provide an update.
Okay, thank you, Nikki. All right, so continue reading on the comp plan, and we'll have that work session, and if you have anything at that time to changes or questions, well, we can resolve it with the board. All right, brings us to Commissioner matters. Any commissioners have anything you want to? Yes.
I do, just
Go ahead.
from tonight's meeting. So I know the VDOT thing, whether, and there are reasons why we didn't want to penalize the applicant, just for transparency on why I voted no. We came to this pattern a couple of years ago where we were getting incomplete packages. So for transparency and check boxes, I don't want one applicant to say to me, well, you let so-and-so get by without a complete package, but you didn't let me, or whatever. I just want there to be notion that all check boxes were checked as part of our review process before we moved it on to the next step.
Okay.
Just being candid about my actions tonight.
I understand. So what should you, yes, ma'am.
And this is for Nikki. Any feedback from EM on that agritourism document I sent?
I haven't received any feedback.
Okay.
I also have not followed up with him, so that could be completely on my shoulders.
Remember what I'm talking about?
I know that you sent me an email. We have not had any further discussion, so he's a busy individual taking care of all of the legal matters of the county, but I will go back to him I apologize.
Okay, and for the rest of the board, I got a document that said that if you're doing agritourism, they really didn't need an SUP. And I was like, let me check this, and until we get it looked by our legal sources, then, you know, that we didn't have to, that people did not have to come to the board. And so I wanted that checked.
Now, I can tell you from a zoning administrator standpoint, anything in an agritourism application or activity or use that requires a special use permit in the county of Buckingham still requires a special use permit. So I do not have a legal determination from Mr. Wright, but I'm happy to do that. But I can say that if an agritourism business undertakes activities and uses that require a SUP in Buckingham County, it still needs to come before our planning commission and our board of supervisors for review.
And I'm just saying, before somebody pops up, I don't have to do it because I've read this. I want to make sure we know what we're talking about.
And I will be glad to follow up.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am,
I
thank you.
appreciate that. And our mileage sheets, we have to email?
Yes, so I did send everyone this evening the 2025 mileage and expense report form with some instructions in there to go ahead and complete those. And when you send them back after your meeting attendance, and if you actually visit any of the sites for the special use permits, or if you come to the county for any particular reason, training or research, complete those reports. Heather Wickheiser is the individual who handles all of your mileage expense reports. If you would send those to her, feel free to copy Carl Carter, County Administrator, and myself. It will provide a record for you every time you submit them. Heather will easily and quickly be able to put those in a folder on her computer and get those paid promptly.
On the email. Okay, I didn't know.
I just sent that today, so.
Okay. Any other commissioners have anything? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote as soon as we're ready. We are adjourned. Thank you.